I chose to do the Harlem Renaissance in part because I wanted to see how jazz really formed, but I also did it because we had studied it in 10th grade, and we really did a shallow, we barely analyzed it. We just, at least my group, just put a bunch of pictures and poems on a PowerPoint and called it good, and we got 100%. So we never really analyzed, what the different art forms were doing to each other and to society as a whole, and that's what I wanted to look at. So I looked at a poem, and these are, the 3 poems I chose are actually from our PowerPoint that we did in 10th grade, but we never analyzed them. So, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? So what Langston Hughes is saying here is that he's basically challenging the race to have innovative ideas and to push forward and have dreams and just seek more than what you have right now. Because most of Harlem at this point in time was just content with drinking and partying all night. So he's really challenging them to step out of that lifestyle and don't not have dreams.
It's okay. Just what was your video going to be?
Could I actually just do it on Prezi?
Yeah.
Connor, what are you doing? That was my third. John, do you want me to click for you on YouTube? If you look on
What?
Or do you want somebody else to edge you?
Oh no! It's alright because when you implied that you were good
That
at
dude was
anything,
crank.
I believed you. But when you implied that you were good at anything, I believed you until I saw you try to rip duct tape. And then I just
You were too. Can you not rip duct tape?
I'm just bad at everything.
No, we discussed this.
I can attest to that.
He's
It's
good with
more.
him. Like, everything
More.
works with
More.
him.
More.
He's trying to communicate with your
More.
outer world.
Like, I'm
Full
becoming
screen.
sick of that game just sitting
That's
there.
not letting me play.
I moved it.
Is that a video?
Oh, good.
Is it a video? Start presenting. I sing most of the words that I sing.
You didn't say those.
Most of my life is a song.
Now it's a song. Yeah, it's a song.
Oh, it still works.
It does.
Alright, this is a song that I heard in September, and I don't know, I'm just listening to lyrics and see what you think.
I met a beautiful princess in the land of Oobladee. She smiled and said, Oobadilia, meaning you appeal to me. I said, Oobadilia, love and do with pride. Oobadilia, love and do, let's take a ride. In the land of Oobladee, Oobladee, she drove me straight to her castle. In the land of Oobladee. And there I met her 2 sisters, Bluey Dawn and Dewey Blee. Bluey Dawn, without a doubt, was twice my size. Dewey Blee, the other sister, had 3 eyes. The 2 had eyes for me.
Alright, so we don't need to listen to the whole song, but I basically saw that. It was written by someone who was from Harlem, and she grew up and basically had a rough time with society, and she was trying to demonstrate that most relationships at that time were really frivolous, and you can kind of tell that by the silly nature of the song, with all the I mean, Ublati, Ubadilia, so she's saying that, you know, we can't just have these, oh, you appeal to me, let's get married. I think, I don't know, how far did we get? They end up getting engaged, and, I mean, it was no more than, I appeal to you, you appeal to me. So, she's saying relationships really need to be more in depth than that. Alright, one of the books I read was Home to Harlem by Claude McKay, and he does a few things to basically call out society on, or at least the black society, on their flaws. One is he shows how Christians in their society are not so moral and perfect as they make it seem. And he does this by using Ray, a character who openly opposes Christianity, and really tries to, you know, show people that their lifestyles are not representative of their religion. And, you know, it's not all about religion, but that's just what Claude McKay used, and he's still calling on the people to know, you know, you're living this horrible lifestyle, and you're not representing your race and your culture effectively, and you need to do something about it. And another thing I noticed is, looking from the jazz aspect, is that they didn't talk about jazz a lot, but they talked about blues a lot, and I'll get more to that later, but blues is really like a symbol of immorality and sex and violence, but it's an escape from all that at the same time. I mean, you sing about your troubles, but it takes you to that place where you can kind of be immoral. So, okay. The other book I read was Not Without Laughter by Langston Hughes, and he wrote about a boy in Kansas who grew up really in a household that promoted him to have good ideas, kind of like the poem that I read, and seek something better in life. So the book praises W.E.B. Du Bois for his thoughts as a scholar, trying to get people to really move forward, whereas Booker T. Washington is criticized in the book because he wanted to, you know, oh, we're okay, our day will come. So it really pushes black people. And here's a quote from the book. This is the main character, Sandy, his aunt, is telling him, that's what Negroes needed to do. Get smart, study books, go to Europe. It's pretty much what the book is about, because it shows that if you don't have a good education and you don't have the tools necessary to succeed in life, you're going to end up just like Sandy's, his grandma and his mom and his other aunt, I think it was, who all just end up working as maids, and his grandma ended up dying because she worked herself too hard. So this is his other aunt who's telling him that you need to do something with your life. And also in the book she mentions that you can succeed in a white man's society if you have the education for it. So the idea that you can succeed at a white man's level if you have the education is kind of important in the book as well. And once again, blues are in there, not so much jazz, but it's the same meaning as in Home to Harlem. And I think, okay, no, I have two poems before I get to the next video. Alright, If We Must Die by Claude McKay. I'm not going to read it all, but if you want to glance at it real quick, it's basically the same as the first poem, but it can basically we summed up in the last 2 lines of it. Like men will face the murderous, cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, dying but fighting back. You don't want to give in to what the society thinks of you, what white society tells you. You want to always, I mean, you have a distinct disadvantage because of your race, but that shouldn't hold you back. You should fight back. Alright, in this poem, Yet Do I Marvel by Connie Collins can also be explained in the last 2 lines. Yet do I marvel at this curious thing, to make a poet black and bid him sing. So, he's saying that if, you know, I can be a black poet, then there are other things that you should be able to achieve as well. Alright, so the blues in general. Both novels talk about it, and I kind of already explained it. But, you know, I wanted to look at how these different art forms, the novels and the poems and the music, all influence each other. And, you know, the poems are calling on society to progress, whereas the blues is really keeping the culture back. Because not only are they singing about the troubles of the day, but they're singing and playing about slavery and oppression. So I read a book last year called Moving to Higher Ground by Wynton Marsalis. He says that the early jazz was reference to both the troubles of the day and slavery. This is an example I found of really good blues playing. I just want you to listen to the emotion that they play with. So that second solo is really what I wanted you guys to hear, and I mean, yeah, jazz is sometimes hard to understand, but I feel like that really summed up the blues in that solo, because jazz in itself is a symbolic art form, and I mean, the emotion that he just played with was phenomenal. I don't know if everyone can see that, but that's definitely what I saw in his playing. So, what did all this mean for jazz? The literature and the poems were definitely calling on the black culture to move forward, while the music was definitely, I mean, the blues was still, I mean, it's still around today, so there's some aspects that didn't get pushed forward, but for mainstream jazz, it definitely pushed it to this point.
is anthropology.
So, as you can see, there's a lot of contrast between that and the song I just played before, and I feel that my conclusion of all this is that mainstream jazz was pushed to the point of bebop and future genres of jazz because of the movement of the Harlem Renaissance. And I guess I kind of did this weird. Music, along with the art, was kind of stuck in the past, but the literature at the time really pushed the race to go forward. So jazz progressed along with the society. That's my conclusion.